I love Sencha, I love hot brew and cold brew, but which one do I like more? That's a tough question. But in this video, I'm gonna compare both of them and make a decision. You might think, oh, it's preference. No, we're not gonna do that in this video. We are going to come to a logical conclusion. If you're new here, I'm Yuki, I'm the founder of Tea Life, and here we break down Japanese tea so you can enjoy your next cup of tea even more. So today I'll make both hot brew and cold infused sencha, and I'll come to the conclusion on which I like more. The tea we're going to use today is the 88th night tea, the Hachiju Hachiya from Taniguchi. This is a tea from Kyoto, so it's a uji tea. It's a first flush. It's a good quality tea. Honestly, if you're starting off with sencha, this is a fantastic place to start. We're going to compare this on 6 different angles: the color, the smell, the taste, how much I can drink, how easy it is to make, and the nutrients that can be extracted depending on the type of brewing. So the first thing we have to do is we have to make the teas. So we'll start there. Okay, here's the teas. So this is a cold brew and this is a hot brew. For the hot brew, we used 4 grams of leaves for 200 milliliters of water. This itself is about 100 milliliters of water, so I made 2 cups. We used 70 degrees Celsius water for about 60 seconds of infusion time. So very standard hot brew sencha. For the cold brew, we used 8 grams of tea leaves for 1 liter of water. The water was room temperature water. We infused it and we let it sit in the refrigerator for 3 hours. And then we have this cold brew. So again, we're comparing these 2 teas. All right, here we go. The first angle is gonna be the color. Let's compare the color. I'm not sure if you can see the hot brew because it's not exactly in a transparent cup. Actually, hold on a second. I put the hot brew in a transparent cup so we can compare. Definitely, you see a slightly darker shade of green on the hot brew side, despite it only being 60 seconds of brewing time as opposed to 3 hours for the cold brew. I'd see more particles evident, feels more saturated in that sense. The cold brew is more clear and clean. Both are beautiful, they're just different, so nothing really to compare here. It's just a tie for the colors. Next angle, let's sniff the aroma. So here's the cold brew. Okay, it's you get a slight umami, sweetness. You don't get too much aroma from a cold brew. Let's see the hot brew. Oh, you definitely smell a lot more here. A lot more pronounced. You can say that the aroma rises immediately, much more layered. You get the warmth, the depth, the brightness, and you can also feel the umami as well. For the aroma, I'd say that the hot brew is much better than the cold brew. So 1 point to hot brew. Next is the taste. So here we go. Cold brew first. Yeah, it's delicious. Super clean, clear, refreshing. It's very smooth. There's almost like no resistance on the tongue except for the viscosity itself of the umami. You can really taste that part, but it's very smooth. No sharpness, no bitterness jumping out. Very nice. Let's try hot brew. Umami is still there, but also lots of the brighter notes. There's certainly more energy to it. There's a slight edge in terms of there's more structure to the tea, if you will. It's not as clear and smooth, right? There's more substance. It's definitely warmer, but not just the temperature. The taste is also warmer. It's fuller, more expressive. They're both amazing. Let me try the cold again. Oh yeah, so this is very clear and refreshing. Well, tastier. It tastes a lot. The tastes are stronger. Even if you look at the umami, the hot itself, I feel has more umami. They're both amazing. I kind of feel that it really depends on the situation. If I'm eating, if I'm having food, something oily, something strong, or like a wagashi, something really sweet, then I probably want this hot brew because it's a bit stronger, it gives more substance, and it has that astringency that helps balance the taste of the food as well. Yeah, and compared to that, the cold brew, it would be a bit light for that. But let's say if I want to go for an exercise or I want something to rehydrate, then certainly I'd rather go for the cold brew. So I kind of feel this is very situational. They're both really good in different ways, depending on the situation. So the verdict, I would say it's a tie here. It depends on the situation. For the, I realized I finished the whole thing. So it's a tie. Part 4 was how much can I drink? So let's say that the more I can drink, the better, right? So for the cold brew, I feel like I can drink a lot. And when I say a lot, I can probably drink a whole bottle across one afternoon. Easily, easily. I can probably drink several bottles because it's light and smooth and I can probably drink without even thinking about it. Compared to that, the hot brew, I'd say, is a bit stronger. There's more structure, more concentrated, and I do drink lots of hot brew, lots of cups of hot brew in a day. However, compared to the cold brew, I don't think I can drink as much. I think another part of this is the caffeine that's extracted. For a cold brew, what happens is that because it's cold, not as much caffeine is extracted from the tea as opposed to a hot brew. The sheer amount of caffeine you're intaking from a cup of cold brew would be much less compared to the hot brew. And I think that plays a part as well. So in terms of the sheer volume that I can drink in a day, I'd say the winner is cold brew. So cold brew takes a point here. Category 5 is ease of preparation. This is a tricky one in a sense because they're different. So at first glance, you might think that the cold brew might be easier, and it really is easy. All you have to do is take a bottle and then dump the tea leaves inside and close it, put it in the fridge, leave it for 3 hours, and that's all. There's no temperature control. There's not really much of a timing stress. Roughly 3 hours later, that's very lenient as well. You can just pull it out of the fridge and you can start drinking. So it's really easy to make. It's pretty hard to fail. So on the other hand, hot brewing, there's a little bit more involvement. So you have to control the temperature. You have to time the infusion pretty well. It's not as forgiving. But also I think the thing is you can still drink it in 60 seconds, which is very convenient compared to, well, you have to wait 3 hours for the cold brew. So, the cold brew takes about 100 times the time of a hot brew, but it's a lot more easier to make and you don't require much skill. The hot brew, it only requires 1 minute to make, but it's a little bit more involvement. So, I'd say this is a tie as well. The last category are the nutrients. Let's compare the nutrients extracted through a hot brew and a cold brew. Now the hot water, they extract the compounds a lot more efficiently than cold water. So these are compounds such as green tea catechins. Green tea catechins are antioxidants, which are really good for you, really good for your health. Not only that, but they also extract other compounds, notably is the caffeine. And caffeine is pretty good for you also, as long as you drink it in controlled amounts. So heat simply pulls out a lot more of the nutrients and the compounds, and it pulls it out a lot faster. Now, a cold brew extracts the nutrients as well, but it extracts it in a slightly different way. Cold brew is able to extract lots of the amino acids, which is responsible for the umami and the sweetness, the good parts about the tea, and that's fantastic, but it's not able to extract most of the green tea catechins that I just mentioned, those healthy compounds. Those are responsible for the astringency, the structure of the tea, and that's why the cold brew tends to be more smooth. You don't get the astringency in the tea. So from a purely technical standpoint, if your goal is to extract lots of antioxidants from the tea, then hot brewing would be your winner. So for nutrients, for this category, we'll give 1 point to hot brewing. For the conclusion, I need to decide whether I like the hot brew, I don't have any left, or the cold brew better. So we had 6 categories, we had 3 ties, 2 of the categories went to hot brew, and then 1 went to cold brew. My conclusion is, it's preference. Sorry guys, they're both really good, and they're both situational. I think the main takeaway here is that from 1 bag of Sencha, you can enjoy this in 2 vastly different ways, hot brew and cold brew, and they'll have completely different expressions, and they're suitable for very different situations. I hope this makes you love Sencha even more. Thank you for watching. If you missed the video on how to make a delicious cup of hot brew Sencha, then click on the link here.